Why don't we all just get settled and centered? Feel your bodies. Hear the sound. Imagining it emanating from the center of the center of the center of all there is. Letting the past go, that which we think of as the past, letting the future go, that we think of as the future because that's all they are, our thoughts. And just bring yourself into the present. Feel your body sitting, hear the sound. Nothing existing except this moment. Feel your breath coming in, going out. See your breath, feel your breath moving in and out of the heart center. Going into this place as the doorway, as the portal, which brings us into the common place, the one being that we all share, that we are. Right into this place, this space within ourselves. Letting go of the idea that the body is an actual boundary as we fall into this awareness of the present now, the eternal, infinite, here and now. Allowing it to breathe through us. Letting go of anything that was here prior to this moment. Letting go of anything we imagine may be coming in the next moment. Just starting to rest in this moment, into this presence. This place, if you can call it that, where we are connected, we are one. We may not have met each other before in a lot of cases here, but that doesn't matter. We've always been connected in this place. And imagine this one energy, this one love, this one flow, freely flowing through what we call us. This connection's always been here. Always, whether we're aware of it or not. It's greater than what we think we are. So we just give what we think we are over to this. Just give it up. Unless you really want to hang on to it, you can do that for as long as you want. But I think those of us who are here today know better. And we just allow this to work through us, to amplify through us, engaging our nervous systems together. Time, space doesn't matter. Aligning us in a coherent flow of energy that is infinitely powerful. Entering through the breath, flowing through the breath, through the here and now. It is gentle, it is infinite, it is wise. And if we're willing to give ourselves to this, it's then free to come in through our incarnation, through this existence, through this now, to tune us up, to align us. That's what this is about. It's not about fixing anything. It's just about allowing ourselves to be attuned. To the deepest harmonic resonance there is, flowing from the center of the center of the center. And any concerns that you came in with, that you've been carrying, this is the perfect place here and now to just simply offer it to the infinite intelligence that's flowing through us right now. Giving up all thoughts that we think we have to fix something, giving up all thoughts that we have to figure out something. Those are all distractions. They really are. I could hear ego saying, no, they're important. No, they really are distractions. So we go and call in a level of power and intelligence that is way bigger than these little distractions and their source. In gratitude, to align us, to attune us, to work through this connection that we are all connected to, even if we haven't met each other physically. The game is so much bigger than what our little selves think this is about. And it's a real joy to allow this to come through and express itself through us as us, exactly the way we've been created to be. Exactly. With not one thing missing, not one. So we breathe this in. Surrender the agenda. Ground into gratitude. That what we are collectively together unfold in our experience, just washing away everything that's unlike itself. And here we are. Wow. So welcome. I have been called to do this for the last couple of years. The universe just knows that I have a stubbornness of about a 2-year window before I finally say yes to things. So I used to have, in my 20s, I ran for 5 years of personal growth meditation groups every week. And it was just totally joyful. We'd come together and I had no idea what we'd talk about. And we'd start off like this and just go. And so we're back, baby. I sent you guys the plan for tonight. We'll pretty well follow it, see how it goes. You know, this is going to be an evolutionary work in progress. The effect of what we're in here carries way beyond the time and scope of our 90 minutes together. So just be open to these ideas. You know, the only constraints, the only limitations are the ones we insist on putting over reality. We just give it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on 25 minutes. This is actually a 50-minute Ram Dass talk. We're going to listen to only the first 25 or so minutes of this, and then we'll come around and we can just have an open floor discussion. So just take it in, listen. You may want to take notes, you may not, but just take in the vibration. You know, there's two things being transmitted here simultaneously all the time. When you become aware of it, it's a whole different ball game. One is the content. In other words, the words that he's going to talk about. Hi, Mona. So nice to see you. Mona and I used to work together 13 years, 14, 15 years ago at Echelon Corporation.
Yep.
There's the form. There's the form of the energy, which is the words that any of us talk about. Ram Dass in particular in this case. Then there's the energy, the essence. Think of the words as the container. And what it's containing is the vibration of the deepest truth that any one of us are able to allow to come through our nervous system. You know, Ram Dass is one of those beings that is deeply clear and connected for all his humanity, which is one of the great things about him. He didn't come off as being this holier than thou, although he jokes about it all the time. He calls himself the phony holy. And I've had the opportunity to spend time with him, both in classes and to actually have a little bit of one-on-one time with him. And I had been around a lot of guru people. I have to tell you, I have never been so blown away by the amount of light coming through this being. And so his guru being Neem Karoli Baba, he just merged so much that he became the empty vehicle for the transmission of that. And that is something available to us tonight just by listening to these words and just being open to the deeper vibration. So I'm going to share my screen here. I'll probably flip a couple of times pictures of Ram Dass, and we'll listen, and then we'll get to discuss. Okay, desktop. Should be able to hear
when this. I, like you, was born, I donned a spacesuit for living on this plane. And it was this body. This is my spacesuit. And it had a steering mechanism, my prefrontal lobe, and all the brain motor coordinating stuff. And just like those Rusty Schweik and the others that go to the moon, they wear their uniforms and they learn how to grab things. So I did that. And I got rewarded. You get little stars and kisses and all kinds of things when you learn how to use your spacesuit. And you get really good at it. You get so good at using your spacesuit that you can't differentiate yourself from your spacesuit anymore. You think you're your spacesuit. And everybody comes up and says, what a nice suit. And you're constantly looking into other people's eyes to find out if you're really wearing a nice spacesuit. It's what I call somebody training. When you're born, you go into somebody training because your parents know who they are, and they're going to make you somebody too. My parents were very intent on making me somebody. They wanted me to achieve, be responsible, be healthy, be successful, provide for them. And if it didn't interfere with any of those, I should be happy. The problem that I experienced, though, was that the suit that I was wearing, it was like you're in one of these suits that doesn't quite fit, and you're a little uncomfortable, and you're constantly trying to readjust yourself. The suit didn't fit, but everybody kept saying, beautiful suit, really impressive suit. You must be very happy. But I wasn't. Now, if everybody you look into their eyes and they tell you you're happy and you're not, because the suit feels so weird, what do you conclude? I felt when everybody said what a nice suit I was wearing, that I must be sick. So I went to an analyst. Now he was wearing another kind of weird suit thing. And what he did was he said that for a pittance, he would teach me how to wear his suit instead of my suit. He said. So I learned how to wear his suit, which had even more status connect. I mean, more people said beautiful suit. Part of learning how to wear that suit was you didn't see people anymore. You just saw psychosexual stages of development. You saw anal retentives and early phallics and things like that. And I really wasn't very happy in that suit either. In that suit, I was a therapist, and I really needed to be a therapist because I was so identified with my needs at that point that everybody else had to be a potential patient. So if you wouldn't be my patient, I didn't have much use for you because I needed to be a therapist full time. So that suit felt weird as well. Well, then through the kindness of a rather wild Irish fellow, I took off my suits entirely, and I stood naked. An elf, Irish gnome. I took off my suit and I stood naked, and it felt wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I felt at home. I felt at peace. I felt content. I felt like this is where I had always, I knew in my inner being, this is where I really was, but somehow I'd never been able to get there. Ever since I'd been born into somebodyness, the somebodyness had always short shrifted who I was. As my friend pointed out, you have to go out of your mind to use your head. And that what I had been trained in was an ego structure, a conceptual structure that defined who I was and who everybody else was. And most people learn these structures, and they're like huge mind nets that come out of your head. And you walk down the street, and you're somebody. So you know who you are. You dress like somebody. Your face looks like somebody. Everything is somebody. No, this is who I am. Everybody is reinforcing their structure of the universe over and over again. And they need like two huge things meeting. This is who I am. This is who you are. And we enter in these conspiracies. I'll make believe you are who you think you are. If you make believe I am who I think I am, we just kind of bump against each other like huge schmooze or something. Big mental mind nets that keep walking down the street. You can see them in everybody. I mean, everybody's being somebody. Well, so when I got out of my somebodyness, which was very cramped, I mean, it was like a prison to me. I didn't want to go back to prison. It's like you go out and you see the stars and you smell the air, and then they say, okay, chemicals wearing off, back into prison. And you don't want to go. You say, no, but you go anyway. And you go back into your suit. And you feel weird. You feel doubly weird now because you know that that isn't who you are, but you're caught in it. So that starts quite a journey. It did for me anyway. Because it started a journey in which my object was to get high, was to get out of my suit. It was to get out of my physical, psychological identities, which felt extremely limited. And I would get incredibly free, clear, and in love. I go to India and I'd sit in the temple or in meditation and I would get so high. I mean, light was pouring out of my head and I was some combination of the pure mind of the Buddha and the heart of the Christ, which for is not bad, you know, and I was really like, I'd be out there, you know, and I come back to the States and I go to visit the family. And my father would say a simple thing like, you got a job. See, and I'd crash. And I'd say, can't go home, brings me down. And I began to have a whole list of things that brought me down. I mean, cities brought me down, money brought me down, politics brought me down. And I found myself, interestingly enough, wearing a new kind of a suit. It was like, I'm very high. You can hear me. I'm very high. And something felt wrong about it. I mean, I loved being out there in La La Land. I mean, it was, ooh, wow, phew, oh, I mean, you go out or in or up or down, and there's no space. That's all phony. But you go wherever you go. That's another plane of consciousness, which is right here, actually. And you look around and everybody's mishpacha, everybody's the family. Everybody's, that's Sanskrit. That's everybody's sisters or brothers. If you go out far enough, you look and there's only one of us in drag. I mean, appearing to be many. There's only, and you really see it. You experience the oneness of things. And it's so connected and so beautiful. So that when you come back down into your separateness, the pain is incredible because you once again feel that feeling of being cut off. See, along our way of evolution, we've developed certain powers or siddhis. One of them is this prehensile thing. Then when we got beyond that, we got to these prefrontal lobes. And those give us the choice. We can remember, plan, analyze, cognate. We can be analytic, linear, etc. And that's the major instrument for the spacesuit control mechanism. That allows you to survive on Earth. The problem with the intellect, however, is that it doesn't allow you to escape from dualism. That is, it always thinks about something. So it always takes an object. So as long as you identify with your thinking mind, you are always one thought away from where the action is. You're always thinking about it or looking at it. You're always in that one thought away from life. And you experience that you are cut off by being in your mind. And there is a quality that is starving in an individual that is locked in their mind. So when you move to another plane of consciousness, which is no longer controlled by your intellect, which is really a subsystem, and you move into the metasystem, what you feel at that moment is subjectively in the universe, you feel like you are the universe, or you feel merged with it, or you feel fully in the moment, thick with the moment. And that richness is so fulfilling. It's interesting. It just is. You can be it. The minute you try to know it or experience it, you go back into dualism again. That you can be the thickness of the moment. Now, because I had been felt so trapped by my body and my personality and was so unhappy in all of that, my job, it seemed, was to push away those things. And I tried a number of techniques like renunciation. I figured if I just renounced all of it enough, it would go away. All I did was end up a horny celibate. It's like giving up smoking. Like I haven't smoked in 4 years, 2 months, 3 days, and 22 minutes. A person will die from non-smoking. It didn't work. Because if you push something away, it still got you. You're busy not doing it. I look back on the stages now and I see, for example, I used to be identified with my body. I mean, that's who I was. I was this body, which I didn't really care for that much. And during that time, I was busy not going bald, for example. It's amazing. I mean, some people are busy not going bald. That's who they are, you know. Like I had a long piece of hair and I wore it like this. And now in the wind, you stand like Rodin's The Thinker, you know, like this. And you notice how much hair everybody's got. I mean, it's a whole reality. It's a whole world of. I mean, this is like a 55-year-old decaying foot right here. And it's just like if you went out in the woods and you saw an old tree trunk. I mean, if I thought that was my foot, I'd freak, but it's just a nice decaying foot. It's rather attractive. I mean, look at all these veins and these bones, loose skin. It's getting nice. You know, I have these spots on my head now. And there's this Porcelana ad that says, they call these aging spots, I call them ugly. That was the ad saying. For me, they call these ugly. I call them aging spots. Because you begin to appreciate nature even when it's your own body. When you're not so busy taking it so seriously, when you're not so lost in it. It's just decaying, just like it's supposed to. And, you know, one of these days it'll drop away. But then the personality, that was much more seductive. I mean, I really took that seriously for years. Am I happy? Do I have enough space? Are my relationships fulfilling? I mean, I really need to be nurtured. Because I was a motivational psychologist, so that was all real. I taught that it was real. It must have been real. I was saying it at Harvard. It must have been real. It was a complete melodramatic hype, it turned out. I didn't know that. No, you can have it seriously if you want. There's no rush. There's no time, so we'll wait. What do you mean my personality isn't real? It is real. It's relatively real, and you should. I've had, you know, I've had neuroses. I've had an awful lot of neuroses. I mean, I've had sexual neuroses and emotional, all kinds of motivational neuroses. And I've been through analysis. I took drugs for years. I've been to my guru. I've done spiritual practices. I haven't lost one neurosis in all that time. Not one. The only thing that's changed is that they used to be these big neuroses, and now they're these like little schmoos. See that, hi, come on in, have tea. They're like old friendly neuroses, like, will they like me? That's a good one. Hi, come on in. You know, I can line them up. They're like the children, you know, for a family photograph. All my little neuroses sitting here, they're all right here. I've become really quite fond of them, actually. And I look at all the spiritual teachers and all the great saints, they're all terribly neurotic. I mean, it's just like I'm not going to grow hair if I get really free, probably. So I think my neuroses are just my style now. See, they give me style. Well, that's what flips. The dramas are still there, the desires and the needs. You just don't take them so seriously. You know, I'm depressed. Yeah, I'm depressed. Completely depressed. Yes, I'm depressed. Oh boy, am I depressed. Oh. Any part of you not depressed? No. Completely depressed. Are you noticing your depression? Yes. Tell me, is the noticer depressed? Well, the notice is just noticing. Aha. Okay. See, and after a while, After a while, you get so that you climb into the noticer more frequently because you know the depression is just a thing that comes and goes. Or try boredom, for example. That's a great one. Everybody buys into that. I'm bored. What am I going to do? Call somebody, turn on the television, read a book, do something. My God, I'm bored. You don't have to be bored. There's so much to do. Things to think about. Listen to the news. See, those are all melodramas, and you milk them. We trip out on ourselves so much. There's nothing wrong with being bored. I'm bored. Nothing's ever going to happen again. See, nothing is. That's what's so funny. People say to me, this is a really heavy tour you're doing. You're traveling, you're doing 60 cities. It must be exhausting. It's funny. I didn't notice I was doing anything. I'm just sitting here. The plane does the flying. I don't, you know. I just come, I look at somebody that's raising 3 kids. I think, oh my God. See, after you end tripping, and that's the thing, it dies hard, I'll tell you, because you want to milk it just once more. I mean, you can get just a little more juice out of it, just a little more. Because we've all been grown up so much with the myths of this culture that more is better. And that just another one will be just a little bit more. I mean, ice cream is good, but in those great big cones that are made of that special, like waffles, oh God. Have you tried that ice cream shop that's over? You got to go 40 miles, but it's worth it. We're living in the yuppie paradise of more is better. And we keep dramatizing it. I need this to be happy. Then there comes a time when all the trips start to seem empty to you. I mean, you're going to buy a new car and you get it and you get into it and you really want to milk the feeling of a new car. You drive down the street and you're looking to see if anybody's looking and you feel that power. Wow. Boy, the transmission is beautiful. Boy, oh boy. And then a few minutes later, the first squeak or the next payment. Until finally, even as you're about to reach for it, it's already empty. Yeah. You'll go through it. Don't worry. Don't complain. You've just begun. And it gets scary because you based your life on collecting things. I collected stuff. I kept collecting things. In fact, I had boxes of things. You have attics, but I'm a wandering monk, see? So I have to keep it in boxes. So I'm a sadhu. And my guru was known at one stage as Cracked Pot Baba. He was naked and he would pick up pieces of cracked pot and put them on his head. And then when he needed water, he'd use it for water and throw it away. And I'm in that lineage. So as soon as I get rid of my master charge, my Volvo and things like that, I'll be right behind him. But my problem is that I have not only the master charge and the Volvo, but I had all these boxes of memorabilia that I couldn't bear to be parted from. I mean, old letters from the 60s and love letters and pictures of people you're never going to see again. And I'd keep putting them in boxes, which I never opened because life was so rich. But I'd label them. And then every time I'd move, I would be this wandering sadhu, but behind me would be a UPS truck with my personal history, you know. And then I got to the point where I thought, gee, I haven't opened these in about 10 years. I just keep adding to them. Why am I carrying them? I guess I assume I'm going to run out of the here and now. And later, when it's all horrible, I'll be able to open them and say, remember that time at the Grand Canyon? Wow, look at that. Who was that? You remember that high school? But all it seemed was that life was getting richer and richer, not through trippiness, but just through simplicity. So I decided to throw them all away. So I put them out in the dump. But during the night, I was out in the dump. Because I thought, I thought of something I was never going to see again, and I couldn't bear it. So I was going. So I thought I better burn them. So I had a big fire and I burned, out of 15 boxes, I burned about 9 of them. The other 6 I wasn't ready for yet. Now I have maybe 9. So at any rate, I kept trying to get high all the time to get rid of all this trippiness because it all seemed so finite. And I felt something was wrong about the direction I was going because everybody else was sort of doing the same thing in the 60s, early 70s. I kept hearing the messages in the spiritual teachings, there's nowhere to stand. But I kept refuting it in my mind because I still wanted to stand out there looking back down. It was so safe. It was so free of any emotional pain. And a lot of people get high in order to get out of emotional pain. Slowly has been dawning on me over the past 8-10 years that the game wasn't to be high, the game was to be free. And the free meant you couldn't push anything away and you couldn't grab at anything. There was nowhere to stand and there was nowhere not to stand. And that I was, whatever this incarnation, whatever level of reality this was, I had to inhabit it impeccably to be free within it. And the freedom was going to come through my incarnation, not in spite of it. And that I was going to have to learn to be, as Christ said, in the world, but not of the world. That all the things I'd pushed away, I was going to have to take the curriculum sooner or later. That turned around the direction of my life a lot. Because until that time, when I was busy just trying to get high, to get enlightened, and I thought enlightened was high, that was a confusion in my mind. During that time, I really begrudged the price of living on the earth. I begrudged, and I constantly saw that I wanted to push away all the experiences of life. It's interesting, when you want to get high, suffering is a real drag, and you want to avoid suffering as hard as you can. When you want to be free, you begin to hear the teachings of the Buddha about the cause of suffering being the clinging of the mind. And when something creates suffering in you, you don't go asking for it unless you're really advanced, I guess. But when the suffering comes down the pike, you don't turn away from it because you know that the only reason you're suffering is it's telling you something about the clinging of your own mind. And it's being offered to you as a gift. This gets very weird because it turns the whole game around. As Rumi says, at first, before you're awakened, you go towards water and you avoid fire. After you begin to awaken, you go towards fire, and that brings you into the cooling quality of the water. But instead of going for pleasure, you go for freedom. And it's a very different style of life. And a lot of things that you would have avoided because they brought you down, because you see that the only thing that brings you down is your own mind. It's not the city. The city's just citying itself. It's being Essence City. What are you getting so upset about?
Okay. Okay. You can keep going. I mean, this stuff just keeps going, and we'll bring more and other things in the future here. But for now, I just want to open the floor. You can unmute yourselves and share anything that's here for you here right now. Like what is real, what is true for you, both in terms of maybe whatever you heard here or what's present in your own being right now. And we will all benefit from this.
I have something to share.
Yeah, go ahead, Dina.
So, without getting into the story, I've been going through this emotional pain that's been really messing with me. And I decided to turn completely around this morning and do something really loving towards somebody that I felt was really hurting me. And it was like miraculous. Like I just felt such a weight lift. I just felt like the universe was saying, hey, look at it this way. Like, don't be the victim. Don't be, like holding on to, oh, this person hurt me and I'm in pain and I don't like them and I'm resentful, all that old shit. And just go into the love. And I just did something that I felt was very loving and offered it to this person. And it just, I don't know, it was like that was what I'm supposed to learn from this whole experience of having this conflict that's been so taking over so much of my mind space. And I just decided to go into the love, and I did, and it just feels really good. So I wanted to share that.
Beautiful. It is incredible how the knee-jerk reactivity of the habitual thinking, also known as the ego, will project it outwards and make somebody else the cause, the perpetrator. And we get into this, well, I'm going to mention it a lot in the times we're together, this idea of horizontal, which is the duality plane. And there's always a push-pull between the two. And if you go to one side to try to avoid the other side, all you did was set up the energy to take you to the other side. And it's a never-ending story. And that push-pull in this particular dynamic is the victim-perpetrator polarity. And it doesn't take much to see how much that's operating in the world. Mm-hmm. That is a source of suffering and violence and misery and separation. It's an expression of the separation wound, right? Those of you who've hung around me and been forced to listen to me enough know that there's really only one wound. We think we've got 58 different things to solve, but it all stems from the same source wound, the separation. And it's not even so much that we're actually separated, because we're not. I mean, if you think about it, it's actually impossible, but the distractions that the ego is capable of creating is designed to keep you from this very simple recognition of the truth. And you blasted through that with your experience here. You did something that was out of the usual, and it broke the pattern. Mm-hmm. And it freed you to a new level here.
Completely.
And going back to the Ram Dass talk, once you get in touch with your power like this, as you are, that all of us are working with, then the fear of those places in us that have been hurting diminishes greatly. And then we open up, and now we can let it come. Because the thing that perpetuates the suffering is not the pain that actually may be present to come up, to release, to heal. It's the fear of the pain and the resistance that we create to try to protect ourselves from that is the source of the suffering. When what we're afraid of is, we think the pain is the source of the suffering. It's not. It's the resistance to it. And you just flip the switch on that.
Yeah, it was very freeing. I'll tell you that. Very much.
Yeah. Anyone else? Unmute yourselves if you want to talk.
Oh, okay. Eric's talking. Eric?
Hey, Martha.
Okay, great. Janet, you wanted to share something? Sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about what Ram Dass was referring to when he was telling the story about his boxes that he wound up burning. I love the concept of, what am I afraid of? Running out of the here and now?
Yeah.
Love that. I tend to like hoard old things too. And right, if you're in the here and now, why do you need all those boxes of things to remind you of the past? Anyway, that was like quite an opening for me. So
nice.
That's what I want to share.
Yeah. And the external objects that Ram Dass was referring to really is is not separate from the internal thoughts and stories and history that we insist on carrying with ourselves.
Yeah.
Different. It really is no difference, which is in one sense, when you go through and you're actually able to get rid of external stuff, you feel lighter because you're really getting rid of internal things. There's no separation. I'm going to keep coming back to that. The external world of our own experience is nothing more than a complete 100% reflection of our internal mind space. So as you let go of one internally, it lets you let go of more externally and vice versa.
Well, I just wanted to add something here, and that is that, Janet's moving from France back to the United States, and now she's here with us in Los Gatos, and she's going to be moving to New York, and there's just there's a lot of baggage, spread all around, and I think she's really a brave soul for all the transition that you are going through and letting go of, and I'm grateful for your talk and for this new realization, and for us too. I mean, our family is going through a lot of letting go right now, and being, Eric, as you say, not horizontal. I mean, stay vertical, present moment, which I love that. Last time I met with you was just vertical, present moment, because when we're in our stories, as you said, past or present, we're alone, right?
That's really true, Martha. We are alone in our stories, and we're unified in our presence. That's a powerful statement.
That's what you heard that I remember.
Yeah.
You said vertical, you're all alone. In those stories, you're really alone, but vertical, connected, present.
And letting go of the boxes and letting go of the thoughts, letting go of the past, letting go of and it's that we think we are our story at some level. There's layers and layers and layers of ego confusion here. And if I think I'm my story, and I used to have a pretty big story, it gets bigger by the moment, by the way, if you keep accumulating it, right? That story gets heavier and more convoluted, because what it's actually doing is it's taking you out of the here and now. And here and now is the only place where life is actually existing.
And it's so rich.
It's so rich. It is, because everything is here. There's like, everything is within you. What they're really saying is, one sense is that source of this presence is within. And I know that the more I let go of the need to know, is, that's probably one of the source accumulators, the need to know. That builds into stories, and that builds into explanations, and that builds into clinging and pushing away. And it's like that.
And expectations.
And you can see all the permutations of it. And it's crazy making, and it's heavy, and it's foggy, and it fortunately, the whole thing is bullshit. It really is. And so all you got to do is step into your strength and your truth. And from this place, start to experiment with letting go of, I'll just go right to the source. Let go of the need to know. I mean, that's a big one. It's a tough one. But once you're in that place, once you're in this place, you are more present. And what happens is you start to trust and experience that the total intelligence that's flowing through your circuitry right now is bringing you exactly what is appropriate for this moment, because this moment is all there is. And if you go to the knowledge base of the accumulated knowledge, you're leaving the present. And we go into the past to try to find something, to pull out a strategy to deal with a fear of the future. And in those, we are no longer here. We're horizontal. We're in time. And I used to know a lot. I used to need to know, and I was good at getting that knowledge fix. And one day I finally realized, oh my gosh, that whole thing is a self-created obstacle course. Every bit of knowledge at small k knowledge that I would accumulate was a function of my ego attempting to build a database of strategies. So if situation X would occur, I'd know what to do about it and protect myself. That's the source of the need to know.
Yes.
And the problem with that is it's crazy when you start to see it. The problem is, in order to get access to that knowledge database, that personal, private database, you have to leave the here and now. And now you're disconnected with the moment and disconnected with what is the appropriate way to respond right now. And there it is. And that facilitates more fear because that part knows it doesn't know.
Yeah. And it cuts you off from the whole again.
Bingo.
It leaves you in this separation.
Because we're alone in the story.
Which perpetuates the fear. So,
right. Exactly.
Oh boy, letting go of the need to know.
I tell you, it's incredible. Because what happens is the amount of surprises goes up dramatically. And they're all good.
Yeah.
And if something comes along that's like, whoa, I didn't plan on this. Or, whoa, what's this? Or this doesn't necessarily fit my definition of good. And you stay with it. It takes you right through to the gift. And therefore, the conclusion is there's actually nothing to fear.
I fear itself.
Not even that. I'm with that. I would say if you read my last two articles, talks about fear in one form or another. And what fear does in order to protect itself and keep itself parasitically sucking off of your energy, because without that, it has no intrinsic energy to itself. So it convinces you to be very afraid. It convinces you to focus on it. It says, not only that, it takes the fundamental fear and then it wraps another layer around itself that says, be afraid to look in this direction.
Yeah.
And now it's, as long as you believe that, it's got you. So there's nothing to fear except fear itself. Not true.
Right. You're right.
There's nothing to fear, period. Now, let me change the emphasis of that sentence. There is nothing to fear. There's nothing to it. It's actually empty. There's no source energy. What is source energy? Us, presence, vertical, here now. That's the source, not just the source, but how do you think the light turns on? It's from the source energy, right? So when I'm present, the light is maximum through me. Now, when I turn to look at that thing that's called fear in my psyche somewhere, what is fear? Nothing more than some darkness. It's a place in me that I have blocked and pushed away from that which I actually am. The moment I now turn to look at it, because I'm no longer afraid of anything in my being, what happens to the darkness? And I don't care if you've been walking around in it for 40 years.
Yeah. It's gone. Put the light on it.
I'd like to share something on the note of fear.
Yeah, go ahead, Anthony.
I'm also aware of, well, I'll call it fear. This is the label I have for it. And it's an energy pattern that lives in my body, but it is not so, not always I'm consciously aware of it, but I'm aware of the impact of it. It's contraction, it's pulls me out of presence. And so I label this as this frequency of fear living in my body. And I'm so curious about ways to work with that fear when I don't know how to look at it, or I don't know what, maybe there's a belief or a set of beliefs that are continually perpetuated that sustain this fear in my body. Like how how do I get deep within and like take these hooks out of me?
Mm. Um,
Yeah, I'll leave it there for now.
I want to open, to the wisdom of this group. There's a lot here. Let me start off by saying, give me a moment. Let me just sit with what you said. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, as you know, probably most of us or all of us know that, again, there's no separation between mind, body. Let's call it that. Mind, body, spirit. It's a single energy system, right? And so, when we experience that vibration that we call fear in any of its manifestations, it's flowing through our nervous system as well.
Mhm.
And especially to the degree that we somehow believe that the source of the fear is outside of us. What it does is it creates a circuit from our consciousness through the neurology into the projection of it out there. And that's energizing the fear in our body. Okay. So, what came to mind as you were experiencing, you called it hooks. The thing that came to mind is welcome the hooks, welcome the Velcro, welcome the attachment, welcome the anything that's associated with what you're calling fear at this moment. So, what is this moment experience? And you can either go into labeling it or not. You being a therapist in training, it's an occupational hazard. You're going to label everything, but try not to do that for a while and just go to pure experience, right? And be with it in present. Curiosity. Curiosity is of the soul. Curiosity is not. Curiosity is actually not of the intellectual level. It goes deeper than that. It's just that it gets hijacked by the intellect because it gets paid so much to use on it. To go down to the curiosity level, it's like, whoa, this is interesting. What is this? Now, notice a couple of things about that. It's a very powerful question. Einstein said questions are more important than answers. So you construct a question that opens up your conscience. Whoa, what is this? There's that. Now you're in presence with it. And then the that's why the Buddhists say awareness in presence is to be in awareness, and awareness is corrective. Why and how is that? Because when you're in presence, you're in one with the universe, the infinite intelligence. It knows what to do energetically with all this. So notice anything in your experience with the fear stuff that you're just like, well, I don't really want that here, or I'm trying to get out of that, or how do I fix this or get that need to fix is your starting place. It's like, okay, let's just relax into this. There's actually nothing to fix. That's the truth. It's just be in presence. In presence is synonymous with unconditional love, right? It's too bad it's not that it just doesn't have its own word. Well, it does, but get into arguments over it. God, source, but it's the infinite intelligence that is the softness that will loosen up the mechanism in you that's contracted around that feeling so it could loosen up, and then the energy flows, and then you could relax, and the energy flows, and you could relax, and it just keeps going, and now you're in a virtuous cycle. And so it starts with allowing anything in your experience in, anything and everything. And you'll encounter the fear of allowing that level of surrender. You will.
Yeah.
Good. 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 The thing I want to end with on my spiel about this thing, and then see what anyone else might want to add, is that fear, because it's very deep. So it's, you work on this one and it takes care of all the spin-offs. Fear, when we operate through it unconsciously, and we're in the process, all of us here, we're more conscious than we used to be. And so we're waking up and we're watching how these dynamics all operate. What in an unconscious state, fear, which convinces you that the threat is outside, takes you away from yourself. So you're leaving the vertical and you're going into the horizontal. And now you're lost because you're disconnected from yourself. It's a function of the way fear operates. So what made the difference is there's like a complete game changer here. I never leave home. I never leave the vertical. If the fear wants to be around, it's welcome to come here. I'm not leaving home to go into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I do, it gets dark and scary, and that feeds the fear. That's exactly how it operates.
Yeah.
It convinces you to forget yourself. Capital S.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
Talking about staying vertical, how did you start that, and how do you just keep doing it now?
Breathing practice is a very good way in. It's probably the perfect doorway, because breathing is one of the only functions in our neurology that's both conscious and unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
It's directly tied to the mind, which is a non-physical layer of ourself. Okay, and so that's why in the yogic practices, there's an entire rung. Yoga is made up of, you think of yoga as stretching and going over here and doing hatha yoga, and that's actually the more superficial aspect of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
The purpose of hatha yoga is really to just get your body comfortable enough so you can sit in meditation and go to the deeper layers of your own being. Well, the deeper layer, one of them is pranayama, which is breath control. And so there's techniques for working with the breath, because working with the breath works with everything that we've just been talking about. And so you will notice, you start paying attention to your breath. When you're in a fear space, you're probably breathing up here thoracically. You're not breathing into your belly. If you look at a baby, a newborn baby, before they've taken on the layers, they're going right down into their belly.
Right.
Next level of way, because when you hold your breath, you're trying to stop the experience. And there's the connection. It's fear-based, because something left from childhood says, this will kill me if I let this experience in. And so we resist it. Then the next level of breath level resistance is somebody will not only breathe thoracically, but they'll only breathe through their mouth. And I don't have to go into the physiology of it all, but what it does is it tries to numb you even more. But the sad irony of it is that it's actually cutting off your life force more, which is getting you more entrenched into the fear. Which is taking you out of the present more, which puts you into the horizontal. So how do you go more vertical? It starts with awareness. Everything. Anytime anybody asks me a question, they may get tired of hearing it, but it's the same starting point. Awareness. Without that, you're a robot.
Right.
You're nothing more than a reactor to the pattern that wants you to react. So starting place is awareness. It naturally wakes up in us. It is our most fundamental source that comes through. So then when you start working with it, it becomes stronger and clearer and more present. So your awareness shows up and you go, oh, I've been in the thinking pattern. Oh, I've been in the constriction. Oh, I've been down that rabbit hole.
So awareness about a lot of things.
Well, awareness is
everything.
Present. The moment you become aware, then you go, oh, drop it, whatever it was, back to the breath. The breath becomes the doorway back to your body. Your body is the place where you experience everything. And then it's in the body, you go back into presence. And so what happened is James Taylor says this great line of one of his songs, I tried to leave my body and live in my mind. Welcome to the human race.
Yes.
So the way back is out of the mind, back into the body. And now presence. What was that?
Now, can I add something to that? I think one thing that helps me to do that is I use an affirmation, and anyone can use whatever works for them, but I always, I'll breathe in the light.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll breathe out whatever I don't need. So, if it's fear or if it's, anger or whatever, I just sit in my presence, and I'm vertical, and I just go, okay. In my breathing exercise, I just use whatever affirmation comes to me that works for me, that empowers me, and it helps me to get.
Thank you for that.
Very nice.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So if I could just say what Dina was just describing as her method is He goes to her breath, and once she's into presence, the present moment gives her the appropriate affirmation for this moment. And then you start to work with this, Kim, and the more you start to work with this consciously, the more it picks up power fast, because it's rooted in truth, the deeper truth.
Right.
And it starts to guide your neurology, and then that takes its own process. I'm going to say thank you at this moment, and we'll end this phase of things. Otherwise, we're never going to meditate. We can go. I can look. You know me. I can go for weeks like this. So, what I'm going to offer here now is I've got a beautiful, beautiful gong that was gifted to me by my deceased mother.
Oh, wow.
She gifted it to me after she left the body. And it has become a remarkable energy tool in the work that I do with people. So I'm going to gong this thing, and I'm ask you to mute yourselves. I haven't figured out how to hit the all mute button, and we'll just sit in the presence. Sit with everything that we've actually been talking about today. Sit in the vibrational truth of this. Be with your breath, be with your body. You know, if you go into the mind and you notice it, fine, drop it back to here. And we just do this for a while, and I'll come and get us somewhere down the line.